Welcome to the Texas High School Football Coaches Show on Lone Star Gridiron. I'm Chris Daly, and it's my belief that the men that make up the fraternity of Texas high school football coaches are much more than a bunch of thick-necked guys with whistles. They do so much more than teach technique and the X's and O's of football. They take young boys and change them into young men of character. They get kids to believe in themselves, to trust others, and to put others ahead of themselves. Texas high school football coaches are unique in how they impact the lives of these athletes as well as the generations those kids touch. In this show, I sit down with a different Texas high school football coach each time and learn about them. Not their record, not their on-field accomplishments, but who they are and what they believe and what it means to be part of the greatest sport in the greatest state. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lone Star Gridiron Texas High School Football Coaches Show, Season 4, Episode 14. I am your host, Chris Daly, and today we're going, all the way up to probably about a stone's throw away from Oklahoma to Muenster, Texas, to talk to head coach Brady Carney. I will introduce you to him right after this. Hey, I want to give a big thank you to this season's title sponsor, Mecca Sportswear, where they are all about celebrating achievement. They're honored that so many high schools, colleges, and universities have chosen Mecca's products to represent their institutions. Mecca supplies you with the very best in custom letter jackets, chenille letters, patches, blankets, banners, pins, certificates, and much more to motivate and celebrate achievement in athletics, academics, or the arts. They create high-quality custom awards that will fit your budget. To see why so many great schools around Texas choose Mecca Sportswear, call Sherry Armstrong or Billy Armstrong at 210-651-6592. Mecca Sportswear, the premier suppliers of letter jackets and awards for over 40 years. Hey, I want to introduce you to our newest sponsor. It is 99 Pledges. And if you're looking for a quick and easy way to raise a bunch of money for your sports team, 99 Pledges is the best way for football teams and booster clubs to raise the most money with the least amount of effort. Donors can donate online. Each player gets their own donation page that they can share with their friends and family all over the country, like grandparents in Florida by email, text, Facebook, or any of the social media outlets. By going online with 99 Pledges, it's easy to spread the word about your fundraiser, keep everyone involved and informed. Because of this, 99 Pledges has seen teams raise over $30,000. And teams like the Katy Tigers have exceeded their fundraising goal. That's the best part. Teams keep an average of 95% of what they raise. Players don't have to go door to door or track down donations. They can save all that energy for where it counts, on the gridiron. Check them out at 99pledges.com. They are an excellent organization. You're going to be so glad that your next fundraiser is through these guys. All right, everybody, join me in welcoming Coach Brady Carney from Muenster to the show. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. It's a Monday, of course, so just getting things ready for the week.
Nice. In doing my research for these calls, I always go back, take a look at the history of the team and things like that. And, again, not to go too deep into the football team and its results, what a turnaround that has happened there at Muenster since you've gotten there.
Yeah, of course, I'm not going to take any credit for that. I think it goes back to the kids that I've come across. Our kids have not only are they very talented young men, they're very hardworking young men, and they're raised the right way. So I'm just very fortunate to be here and be part of the community, and we've had a lot of success.
Definitely. So, if you could, let's jump back to your earliest recollection of the game of football, when you noticed it.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and when I really remember, I think it was I was born in '76, and I really, you know, of course, I remember playing football at the, you know, in second, third grade and all that stuff. But when I really sit down and started watching it and remembering it was the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots Super Bowl. I think that was 1986. You know, Refrigerator Perry, Walter Payton, all those guys. So that's when I really first remember sitting down to watch the game and really becoming a fan.
Nice. And so did you play in high school and college or anything like that?
Just played, you know, throughout my life up until high school was over. I wasn't the greatest football player by any means. And so, you know, after football was over, I tried to play college baseball at a couple of places, tried out here and there. But, again, I wasn't good enough to do that. So settled in on becoming a coach and just getting back into school and so forth.
Nice. So where did you play your high school ball?
I grew up in Collinsville, which is, you know, up here in this part of North Texas. So I've been a part of this area my whole life. You know, been part of a small school system my whole life, and that's why I am where I am, and wanting to, you know, my kids to grow up and have the same opportunities I had in a small town.
I love that. Yeah, and so I guess when did you decide that coaching was what you wanted to do?
I knew at a young age. I just loved to compete, and I loved football, basketball, baseball, all of it. You know, I went from one sport to the other. That's what you kind of do in a small town because you have to do that to have, you know, to help your buddies out and all that good stuff. But no, I just really enjoyed competing. I knew probably in junior high or high school that I did want to become a coach. It's never been part of my family. My dad was a contractor and a home builder, and you know, so I've never really had that in my blood as far as what my parents did or anything. I just knew at that age that's kind of what I wanted to do. And you know, when I actually got out of school and I thought I wanted to be a firefighter, so I went through a firefighters academy. I got state certified in firefighting, and that's kind of the path I was going to take. And had a hard time getting a job. Those jobs are hard to come by. Yeah. And after a couple of years out of school, working my tail off to get a firefighting job, it just wasn't happening. I decided to enroll back into college and pursue my coaching career.
Nice. And where was college?
Well, for me, I started out paying for my college. I went the cheaper route, so I went the NCTC over here at Gainesville for 2 years, and from there I transferred to the University of North Texas down in Denton, somewhere I could drive to every day. That's close enough to home to get back and forth. So that's where I ended up getting my degree from.
Cool. And then I guess if you could give me stop by stop from the time you graduated from college to today, the positions you've held.
Okay. You know, I think it was 2001, 2002. I started out in Prosper, and back then Prosper was still a 2A school, and I stayed there for 4 years. And from Prosper, I went to Lindsay, right up the road here, and I was in Lindsay for 4 years, from 2006 to 2010, I believe. I was fortunate enough to win some football games there. I was the track coach, offensive coordinator. We won a state championship in track while I was in Lindsay. And in 2010, this job opened up. I applied for it, and like I said earlier, I was lucky enough to get it. And I've been here ever since 2010, so I think this was my 9th football season here in Muenster.
Nice. Yeah, so we all know that you don't get anywhere in life by yourself.
Sure.
So I guess pull out some of the coaches that were an influence in your career and maybe what you got from them.
Yeah, you know, I think you said it best. You know, you don't get anywhere, you know, by yourself. There's always somebody that has influenced you or so. You know, I can't sit here and tell you one person. I think just like as a football coach, you pull bits and pieces of things from people. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think, you know, you look back and from a high school age, I had a couple of coaches who influenced me, Coach Reeves, John Reeves, and then Mark Jackson. I felt like I took a lot from those guys as far as work ethic and how they treated kids. You know, I think they did it the right way. They pushed you hard, but at the same time, they pat you on the back when you needed it. And that kind of approach I took from a high school level. You know, and then, like I said, Coach Pease and Prosper, he allowed me to kind of grow on my own, fall down a few times, learn from my mistakes and so forth, So, I appreciate him giving me that opportunity. Coach Bounds, Cody Bounds was a guy that, like I said, when we were in Prosper, they made some changes, and Coach Kent Scott came in, and I could have worked for Kent in a heartbeat because I got to know him a little bit for a couple of months, and he was doing things right. Mm-hmm. But he had somebody he wanted to bring in to call the offense, which that's part of our profession, So
sure.
I wanted to continue to call offense, and Coach Bounce took the job in Lindsay and wanted me to come over and call offense and be his head track coach. So I took that position, but while I was in Prosper, I got to know Chad Cole, who's the head coach at Frisco Reedy, who's done an outstanding job. And, I took things from Chad as well. I thought Chad's enthusiasm and how he treated kids, I learned a lot from Chad in those couple of years I worked with him. And I think it's evident in the success he's had at Frisco Reedy the last couple of years. And then other people I worked under or with,
mm-hmm.
and from here, like Coach Smiley, Jeff Smiley's a good friend of mine. He's now the head coach in Lindsay. I took things from him as well. And Mark Stevens, I've worked with here. He's my DC, and all those guys have a few years on me. I'm not calling them old. I'm calling them old by any means. But they do have some experience, and I've taken stuff from those guys as well. But also people you coach against.
Yeah.
And for me as a young coach when I first got here, like I said, we're fortunate enough to have success and got to play the Mart Panthers, unfortunately, back in 2010-11, and I took a lot from Rusty. Coach Snell's a friend of mine. I'd call him a friend, and
yeah.
I've talked to him over the years, got advice, and Coach Faith out at Albany the same way. I look up to those guys, and I said a long time ago after Coach Faith beat us, which he did, just like Coach Snell did quite a few times. I wanted our program to reflect those like Albany. And Mart and those guys, and that's what we've worked towards. And I think we're getting to that point. I think we still got a little work to do, I guess, but that's kind of who we modeled ourselves after and who I modeled myself after. So, I don't think there's just one person that sticks out. I think you take things from people over the years, and hopefully the right things, and they work for you, and you can have success. And I think that's kind of my story.
Nice. You mentioned that earlier about learning from your mistakes. So what are some things that you were doing wrong early on as a coach?
I think the one thing that you do sometimes, you get so focused in on the X's and O's.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you forget to build those relationships with those kids, because here's the deal. There's tons of ways to do things. There's tons of offenses, there's tons of defenses and special teams. You can do things a ton of different ways. But if your kids don't respect you enough to play hard for you, I don't care what you're doing, I don't think that success is going to follow you. I think those kids have to respect you enough to give you everything they got. And if you do that, or if you're able to accomplish that, I think the success will follow.
Nice. And when you talk about relationships with kids, the word that keeps coming back in my years of doing these interviews is love. Kids understanding that you're not just some tyrant that is trying to get them to work hard. You love them. You have their best interest. Do you have any stories about how you've seen that affect a kid?
Well, I think you're right as far as showing a kid that you truly love them, and you care about them. And, because there's just, like I said, I think as coaches we get caught up way too much in the X's and O's and the wins and losses. Granted, if you don't win, a lot of times you have to change jobs. So you do have to win along the way. But I do believe that those wins will come with that love that you show those kids. And, kids aren't dumb. They're not. It don't matter at what age. They see through coaches that are kind of self-promoting themselves, I guess you could say, to a certain extent, and they're not truly involved in their life, maybe. They see that they're just kind of job jumping a little bit. They go from one job to the other trying to self-promote and grow as far as, from 2A to 6A or whatever it is.
Right.
I think consistency in a program is one of those things that also show those kids that love. But as far as the stories go, I don't know if there's a single story. I just feel like I've got relationships with my players from 9 years ago. I still communicate with those guys just like I do this year's team. And those things, I feel like I've gotten my point across, and I think they know that I truly love them just by the relationship I still have with players. I don't want it to be 4 years and done. I want to know how their life is. I want to know what kind of father they become or what kind of husband they are. And we keep those. I feel like I keep those relationships with those kids. So I don't think one story sticks out per se, but I feel like those kids, when they leave this program, they understand how much I do love them and care about them.
Great. And so when you move from being an assistant coach to taking the big chair, it shifts from just dealing with kids to now dealing with grown men, your other coaches. Talk about that transition a little bit.
I think I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm a great boss. I really don't. I don't know if I do things the right way, because it's funny that you bring that up. It's a totally different experience as far as being a coach. And, I think everybody does it a little bit different. You want to hire people that are good for your program, good for your community, and then, of course, great for your kids. So, I keep going back to, you're not just an X's and O coach. You're not just a wins and loss coach. I want people that work for me that truly care about kids, and you have to try to guide them in the right way without being, in my opinion, I don't try to be that hardcore guy that just, there's a certain way you have to do this, because I was never treated that way. I was kind of given, I was given the leniency to run my track program, let's say, or my offense the way I wanted to, with a little bit of input from the guys that were, my boss, and I would try my best I would listen to those guys, of course, because they were telling me, and they were my boss. But, sitting in the chair, it changes a little bit, and, you have to find a way to keep their respect, but at the same time, you have to build a relationship with them.
Right. Talk about the importance of the off season for a coach.
Well, I'll tell you right now, and I'll be the first. I'll tell you, because I do have faults. I'm not nearly as involved as I should be, just because I'm not. I'm fairly young. I'm 42. There are younger coaches out there, but I feel like I'm still learning from a lot of these older coaches. So, when I am involved with the Texas High School Coaches Association, it's me learning more than it is contributing right now. But I hope to grow in that role and become more of an influential part of those organizations as I get a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. But I said it earlier. I look up to a lot of these guys that have been around a while that have had success, and right now I'm trying to learn from those guys. And I take from them what I can, and I try to give back what I can, but I'm not nearly as involved as what I probably should be. Like I said, it's tremendous. And to me, what they offer the coaches as far as tools and opportunities to grow and so forth is tremendous. They're always working their tails off to put on great, conventions or schools that help us. And they're always looking at ways to improve not just football, but other aspects. And like I said, as I grow as a coach and I become I have a few more years, I hope to become way more involved.
We've talked about, how to get the most out of them. Let's talk about a community itself and how you change those mindsets from football is something that happens on Friday nights to, football is so important in this community.
Well, I think that's another thing that I've had coaches reach out to me before, and they ask me, because we have been fortunate enough to have success, and they may ask me, Coach, how did you get to where you are? What did you change when you came in and so forth? The the main thing I wanted to do when I got here was to push hard work, and that was my philosophy, is I wanted to outwork everybody. And we were fortunate enough to have success, so I feel like the community has always backed us. That's one thing that stands out to me about this town and a lot of small towns, especially ones that have been fortunate enough to have success, is how much the parents are involved and how I feel like the parents have to be involved for you to have success. Mm-hmm. There's neighboring school districts around here, or school districts I've seen, where you go to and I'm using this for example, let's say you go to a 9 a.m. Christmas basketball tournament and your girls are playing. I look up and we've got 50 to 60 fans on our side, because every mom and dad and then grandma and grandpa or aunt, uncle, they're there to support those young ladies. Yeah. And you look across at the opposing school district, and this is no lie, I've seen 1 to 2 fans sitting in the stands. You know, and this, you know, in these school districts, they're struggling a little bit. And I think it goes back to sometimes the lack of support, parental support, that those kids get. Why does a kid want to come in day after day and work their tail off and be the best they can be when no one's there to support them through the process? You know, right. I think that's the hardest thing some coaches battle. Unfortunately, I don't have to battle that. The community backs us. They always have. And I think that goes back to some of the success. But at the same time, that's never been anything I worried about. If I need somebody to volunteer for something, I've got a list of people to volunteer, you know, because everybody wants to be involved in a town like this. So, man, my job is really, really easy compared to some of my friends I know that don't have that support.
Right, right. And what about the transition from being an assistant where you're focusing on one sport to suddenly you have to focus on volleyball, on basketball, on track, on everything? What was that transition like?
It was definitely different because, you know, like you said, used to, I would go from football and I'd have, December, January, February to get ready for track. You know, that was my only focus. Well, now, during football season, you're having to worry about, you know, you're having concerns. For us, we don't have volleyball, so it's cross country. Or girls basketball is huge, and they start up in November. And then you go straight from hopefully playing football to December to boys and girls basketball, and you're having to make sure that but again, I've got great experienced coaches that work for me. So for me, I don't have to look over their shoulder all the time.
Right.
You know, I feel like they're doing their job. They handle everything they need to handle. So as far as PAPFs or eligibility lists or transportation requests, all that stuff, like Coach Cook, for example, he's been my basketball coach for, I guess, 6-7 years. I don't worry about what Coach Cook's done. He's out there coaching basketball, he's having success, and he's also taking care of those little things that I don't really have to worry about. So for me, it's just a matter of purchase orders and eligibility lists and PAPS and so forth.
Right.
Those are the little things I take care of. I let my coaches take care of the rest, and they do a tremendous job with it. So you surround yourself with good people, it sure does make you look a lot better, if that makes sense too. And we've been fortunate enough to have success. The people that I have working for me do a great job of continuing that success, and I have top-notch people that work for me.
Yeah, so the lesson is hire good people and get the heck out of their way.
Hire good people, sit back, let them do their job. Don't interfere with them unless there's something that may need to be taken care of. And then it's pretty simple to handle. But no, you, as an athletic director, like I said earlier, you got to surround yourself with the right people, because that's a reflection of you. And to me, I honestly believe that. So, you know, hiring people is sometimes it's a gamble. Because I've always said a lot of people can interview really well, because you just come in, you answer those questions, but you have to dig deeper, and you have to find out who you have coming in to work for you. And again, I'm not saying I've done perfect. I'm not saying I'm great at that by any means, but I've tried to get better at it, and I will continue to try to get better at it as I get more experience as an athletic director.
Nice. So again, you mentioned you're still a young coach. What?
I'm young, but I'm getting older, okay? So there's a lot of younger guys. Coach of the LA Rams, Coach McVay or whatever, that guy's fixing to be 33 coaching the Super Bowl. That guy's amazing. That's unbelievable. So no, I am getting older, but I still consider myself young. You bet.
Nice. So what goals do you have in your career? There must still be some pretty big goals out there.
I think so. We've accomplished a lot, and as a coach, you want to win, and you want to win. You want to win at the highest level, and we've done that here. Mm-hmm. We're the only school to ever win football, basketball, and baseball state championships in the same calendar year. We've had that success, and I think for me, my goals are to continue that success. So I don't want to ever be satisfied, and I don't want to ever lose that fire and that intensity that I have on Friday nights or I have during practice. I think once you maybe do that, I think that's probably the time you need to either look for another position in the school district, because I don't feel like you're giving everything you should to the kids, know. And so I think as far as a goal, I think my goal is to continue the success that we've started here, is to continue that success over the however long I'm here. I don't want it to be a one-time deal. I want Muenster to be considered one of the top-notch programs, not just in football. Because I said whenever I became an athletic director, I'm not just a football coach being an athletic director. I'm an athletic director that wants to see every sport succeed. Right. I want our kids to play every sport. So I'm going to use Parker McGrew, for example. Parker was our quarterback. And as soon as Parker was done with football, I wanted him to go into basketball. As soon as basketball, they won a state championship in basketball, I wanted him to step foot on the baseball diamond. I want our kids to compete and do everything they can possibly do. I don't want us just to be a football program. I want us to be able to compete at everything, and I feel like we've done that so far. So I guess my goal is to continue that same success for as many years as we possibly can, as long as I'm in Muenster.
I love it. Coach Brady Carney, I want to thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your time with me and some of your story.
Yeah, like I told you earlier, I appreciate you calling, and it's an honor that you took the time to call me and ask me those questions, because it's one of those things that for the kids, I like that we're known as a successful program for those guys, because they've worked hard for it and they deserve it. So I appreciate you guys taking the time.
Rocket Man, the story of D.W. Rutledge and the Judson High School football dynasty, is a must-read. It provides complete coverage of every game coached by Rutledge, but more importantly, tells the stories of the impact he has had on the tens of thousands of students, parents, coaches, administrators, and fans. Dr. Charles Breithaupt and Chris Daly, both well-known in the Texas high school football community, joined forces to tell this much-needed and inspiring tale. Get your copy now at rocketmanbook.com.
This show is brought to you by the book, All I Need to Know I Learned from My Texas High School Football Coach. A handbook of wisdom for parents, young people, and yes, even coaches. Head over to www.learnedfromcoach.com and order your copy to support sharing the stories of these great coaches and leaders. That's learnedfromcoach.com.
Hey, once again, I want to thank Coach Brady Carney for sitting down and sharing a little bit of his story. And I want to remind you guys to please go out and support these sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't be able to bring you this great show. Until next time, I'll see you at the game.